Good afternoon. I'm Rick Dancer. How are you? Welcome to Get Real with Rick Dancer. This is just kind of a little tease, a couple little comments, a little commentary here and there, the things that we normally do. But tomorrow night at 4:30, we have a great show coming up for you, sponsored by The Buck Stops Here. Because the buck really does stop here with you, me, and everybody involved in our culture. We're going to talk to a medical expert who is from Stanford, who's going to discuss with us kind of a different, sensible and compassionate, different kind of, more of a middle ground approach to COVID. And it's going to be a little controversial for some. But I think it's time to have a conversation like that. Here's my deal. I spent 30 years being a journalist. And what surprises me right now is how many journalists are going after this whole COVID thing with an approach that here's the answer, this is what you do, and no questions asked. And when I was a journalist, I remember I had to go on a story on a neo-Nazi rally here in Eugene, Oregon. I don't want to go because I do not agree with, obviously, neo-Nazis. And my news director said, you don't have a choice and you get to be fair. So you go to that story and you come back and you have a fair story. So I had to go and cover this rally, give them their time. And then, of course, I went and got the other side so that I could balance the story. What happened to that? What happened to us as a culture, as a society, expecting both sides of a story, other ideas? That is not the world we live in. It's become that. But there's a lot of people out there. There's some defiance going on out there. Restaurant owners, gym owners, they're very upset because a lot of this stuff just doesn't make sense. And there's a growing number of people talking about it. I have a friend who has a restaurant who defied the orders, and OLCC shut her down. And didn't know what she's going to do. But people are losing their livelihoods. And for them, that's their life. And we have to have an option that works. More middle ground. I heard a podcast today where people are talking about this, and this was not some right-wing podcast. I think it's really easy to paint people into a position because of their what they believe or talk about. And for me, this is really simple. It's we have to present all sides of this information, which we haven't had. So that why are we so afraid? Today, I did a live. At Any Lab Test Now, one of my clients, and it was about COVID testing. There was nothing controversial in it. I mean, it was COVID testing. They're offering COVID testing. And when I got done, I went to share it, and Facebook shut it down. They wouldn't let me share. For 6 days, they blocked me from sharing on other groups. I can share on all my own, which, as it turns out, I have enough people that didn't really matter. But it's censorship. And so interesting part is I had a marketing call with Facebook, and it was like the first person I've ever had a live voice. And so I spend thousands with them and boosting stories every month. So they're a little concerned that I'm not happy. And so she's going to have somebody call me and try to get me back up and running. Again, it doesn't matter because I have people, but it does matter because it's the principle of the thing. I don't know, and I don't even know what I said that why they pulled it. I have no idea. So I'd like to know that, so I know what mistake not to make if there is a mistake made. But we've almost accepted censorship because if it doesn't line up with my position, then it's okay to censor. That's not right. You can't do that. Whatever happened to a culture where we could discuss all kinds of ideas and then come up with a solution? That's gone, but it's coming back. I think that's what's coming back. So the doctor we're going to talk to tomorrow is from Stanford. He's amazing, and he's going to give us some different things to think about. And some people are upset, and they're sending me nasty emails, and that I'm selfish and I'm killing people, and it's just all that rhetoric that is so untrue. Because I could turn around and say, look what you're doing to business people, that's killing them. So we need to get over that conversation. We need to start going, what can we do that can work, that we can protect people, and who's really dying, and how do we protect them? And then what do we do to also protect businesses? Because you going there and picking up a hamburger once a month is not saving their ass. And having them only be able to serve outside in this weather, when my son sees a picture of my wife and I in Washington, we were in Washington State, and we were sitting outside in a tent, and he goes, "How is that any different than being in a restaurant?" And I'm going, good observation for a 30-year-old man. You know, middle of the road. There's a concept. Same as these days, we're either left or right. Yeah, no, I agree, Pamela. But we're going to talk about some middle of the road things. There's options. It doesn't matter. It's a step backward. It does matter. It's a step backwards. I disagree. Absolutely agree with you, Rick. Most news media are only reporting what supports their agenda. We just need to have a big open conversation. And I don't know why that has to be scary to people. Why is it scary to have other voices involved in the conversation? Keep speaking. That makes no sense to me. And what are you afraid of? That there may be an answer out there that you didn't think of. I don't know. Freedom of thought is still possible. Well, we're going to see. We're going to try. Wow, what happened to being adults about things? Oh, that disappeared years ago. No, it didn't. I think we just lost our way because we got scared. Keep doing your thing. I plan to. That's what we're doing. How about having a nurse for an emergency room or a doctor who works locally? That's a good idea. That's a very good idea. But see, I've heard from both. I've heard different stories from both sides. There's just a whole bunch of different perspectives in here. Meetings. Oh, I'm sorry, Corey. Yeah, censorship is a fall backwards. It is a huge fall backwards. I mean, and I'm going to pick on the media because journalists, shame on you. I mean, you don't get to pick sides. No, you don't get to do that. That is not a journalist. You know what? If you're going to do that, then you become a publicist. And so you're going to you lose your right to do a whole bunch of stuff if you're going to censor what you're putting out there. If you've decided what the message is that people should hear, then shame on you. That's not your job. That is not a journalist. I know I was one, because people get attacked and interrogated for having a voice. People get shut down. Oh, I get nasty emails. You get shut down for opening your mouth. But I think what has to happen is we have to resist that fear. And we can't be angry about it. We can't be, what is it? You can't go accusing people. Don't go, I hate Kate Mann. I hate that. I mean, we have to be adults. We have to put on our big boy and big girl pants and go in and say, listen, I need to be heard. And I need for you to take into consideration what this is doing to small business. And I need you to take into consideration. I want to ask questions like, why is a gym so dangerous when they haven't had any cases come up from a gym? Why is a restaurant so dangerous when most of the cases that are turning up are from people having parties in their homes? And how do you stop that? But don't punish the restaurant because of that. How about more praying and less being political? That probably works too. Let's talk about this. I know we have not been dumbed down to the level of not being able to recognize simple things like restaurants open safely compared to flying and sitting right next to each other. That's a pretty good point. I was on a plane. Hey, Frank. Hi, Jeannie. Hi, Tim. I was on a plane. We flew back to Montana on business and saw my kid while I was there. And I flew on a plane and I felt very safe. They had us not separated overly, but we were, in our seats and had our mask on the whole time. And if your mask slipped down under your nose, and those stewards were right on you and going, please put your mask back up. It was pretty interesting. And then in the airport, it was, crowded, but we actually had a deal where we went and paid to go into a lounge, the Alaska lounge, and sit for 3 hours. So we didn't have to be in a crowd. So you find ways to do the things that you're going to do. Hey, Luana, she's from Vegas, but they'll get fired if the boss doesn't like it. Well, yeah, that's what I'm being critical of all of it. Yes, thank you for saying I keep my posts on Facebook labeled as false when the information is from reliable sources. The conversation may not happen until having to be right attitude and mindset stops. That's exactly right. I think people, and I think now we've gotten so far into this that, what do you do? What do you do? How do you go back and then say I was wrong or we didn't learn? I think what you say is you weren't wrong. We learned. We got educated. We figured out what didn't work. And then but to find out something's not working and then just keep doing it, I think that's the definition of insanity. We need to pull together one population, not each race. Yeah, good luck with that. You rock. Yeah, Jody, you're awesome. Restaurants. Yeah, I have a friend who has a restaurant in Springfield that she got shut down because she couldn't afford to not open. Here's the other thing that I think you have to think about. And if you're still getting a paycheck, you kind of need to keep your mouth quiet when talking about businesses because you're still getting a paycheck and businesses aren't. So it's really easy to say, here's what we should be doing when it's not affecting you. You know what I mean? Yes, it's affecting your life because you can't go out and the things that we can't do, you can't do. But if you still have a paycheck coming from Uncle Sam or the post office or the teachers union or whatever it is, you better be real careful. Hello, Rick. Hi, Joe. How are you? Hey, Jesus. OHSU School of Medicine has a division of infectious disease. Would be great to hear from them. That's not who I'm talking to tomorrow. I'm talking to Stanford. I think we've heard a lot from the infectious disease people. There's other people out there with opinions. I'm not against putting them on as well. But this is the story we're doing now. I have lost my livelihood more than once. Oh, this is what I want to hear. Survive. I have multiple patients lost life COVID. I have worked Tyson COVID back and forth 49 to 69 days after the full illness. Please stop downplaying the consequences. I'm not downplaying the consequences, Susan. What I'm saying is there are all kinds of consequences, and there's a number of consequences going on in this community to a lot of people. And that's what we need to also take into consideration. So don't tell me I'm downplaying the consequences of COVID. I know people die. I know people who've been very sick. I also know people who haven't been very sick. And I also look at the statistics and I see what the percentage of people dying is versus how many are getting it. So there's a whole bunch of numbers out there, and I realize it's hard. And as a nurse practitioner, you're in the thick of it. And I thank you for being there for the people that are getting this. But don't tell me I'm downplaying it because I'm looking at all the bigger picture too. Because I'm out here in a business community where their businesses are dying. And you may not think that's important, but it is to them. It's their dream, it's their livelihood, it's their family, it's everything they have. They're going broke, and that is a death. And it does need to be considered in the picture, in my opinion. And yours, see, I could turn to you then, Susan, and say, well, you think it's okay for all these businesses you're downplaying the impact it's having on local businesses and what it's doing to them and gym owners and stuff like that. You don't care about them. I'm not doing that to you because that's not the fact. I don't know where you're at, and you don't know where I'm at. So don't put words in my mouth. Don't try to tell me I'm downplaying the impact. I'm upplaying the other impacts that are being ignored by most of the culture we live in, and that is not fair. And those voices also need to be heard. That's what I'm saying. So don't put words in my mouth. I hope I'm not overreacting to your comment, but I get really irritated when people start doing that kind of shit to me and saying you're downplaying this. I have never downplayed the impact of COVID on our world. But I'm going to look at the reaction to COVID has been equally as deadly to a lot of people and a lot of things. And that's what I'm saying. So if you want to take words out of my mouth and twist them, you can take that and twist it. But don't tell me I'm downplaying the impacts of COVID, because the impacts of COVID are bigger than dying. It's huge to all of us and to the whole culture and to kids and suicide rates. And that's what we're going to hear from this doctor tomorrow night. Other aspects of COVID. And you know what? What we decide after that is up to us as a culture. But what I'm tired of is people shoving something down my throat when there's other options out there as well. We need to have a big, huge conversation that all of us can be involved in, not just the medical profession. There's other people to look at as well. And we've done a great job of selling this as you're bad because if you don't like it, because now you're killing people. And that's horse shit. That is horse shit. I'm wearing my mask. I'm doing the things that I'm told to do. And even if I think it's stupid, I'm still doing it. So I get points for that. But what are we doing for the other people that are suffering through this thing too? And they're equally as important, in my opinion. A critical thinker, but people like to just follow. Yeah, we need a lot more critical thinking. Go look at the numbers on the Oregon Health Authority site of deaths from last year versus this year. And then come back to me and ask me a question, because you should go look at it. It will surprise the hell out of you. I am getting a paycheck, but I'm not blind to the fact that people are losing their livelihood. Good, Joe, I'm glad. The parent company of IHOP and Applebee's already announced following the last closures, they couldn't continue the amount of stores they have and announced 600 closures. It's only going to multiply. Lots of places are losing. Small businesses are losing. I pulled the data. No, go put that. Don't go for the whole year. That's interesting. 2017, in January to October, 32,000. But go look at just year to year. Those are interesting figures. Yeah, it's a little bit under. And go look at that just year to year. I can't remember what it was, but last time I looked, it was 2,900. I don't remember, but go look. You tell it, Rick. Here's the thing. I'm just tired of people trying to put words in my mouth or trying to make me look like, or any of us look like we don't care. I care a lot, but I also see a bigger picture. And I'm not working in the hospitals, so I don't see that as much as somebody working in the hospitals. And I appreciate what people are doing there. And I understand people are dying. But what's the percentage of death versus the percentage of people getting this? And it's outweighed. And people, the media, and has done an awesome job of scaring the shit out of people. And we need to be careful. Good God. The best thing to come out of this for me, men finally washing their damn hands. I mean, God, there's a lot of things we can learn out of this. I work in hospitality and have been blessed to have been working. There are a lot of others that are in my shoes and businesses suffering. Exactly. Susan, I lost my restaurant in Springfield due to the recession. I was disappointed. I moved forward. No one came rushing to my aid. Okay. So we should just ignore people who have restaurants now because we're causing the problem. We're causing what's going on. I mean, you're biased and I'm biased. I'm a small business that depends on small business and helps small business. You're in the nursing field. And so we both have our bias. That's fine. But we should be able to have a conversation without accusing each other of something. And you tried to put words in my mouth, Susan, and I don't appreciate that at all. Because I've seen it all over the place. And I am a compassionate guy, but I'm also a critical thinking kind of guy, and I use my head and my heart to think. Our husband, 500,000 in relief because of the virus, and when he runs a political campaign. Yeah, anybody that says that this isn't political is just insane. Thank you. Two sides of a story. That's all I'm asking for. And it's as if I am the Antichrist because I see somebody talking and going, that makes sense. We should be looking at things and other alternatives because, like I said, I think there's a defiant attitude out there, and I think they're tired of being accused of being selfish and all the other things that people are saying. Me too. Texas is a little more open than Oregon, but my small business is still being impacted because people are not spending. Yeah, well, yeah, and they can't because I think we're all kind of nervous going, what's going to happen in the future, So anyway, and there's a lot of hypocrisy in this too. Like somebody I just saw really quickly, so I'm just kind of gazing through some of these because I can't keep pulling them up. I got to go shoot a video tonight. But a lot of people are going, okay, so I can't go to church, which I don't go to church anyway, but I can't go to church, but you can go to Costco and there's just as many people in there, Or did you guys hear the story in LA of the small restaurant owner who the government shut down her patio, said she can't serve on her patio, and then a Hollywood screening right next door set up a tent and were feeding people like 10 feet from her where she was shut down. That's hypocrisy. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that happens, and it's just absolutely ridiculous. The people need to put restrictions, but give a little wiggle room to survive. Exactly, Kim. And I think people are doing that. Okay, here's Deborah. Deborah and I don't agree all the time, but I love her to death. Nurse practitioners also looking at the impact of the medical community with increasing numbers for long haulers and those effects too. It is a huge beyond just dying. The impact of the medical providers is more widespread than acute situation. I'd like to see numbers for all of those scenarios as well as numbers on the economic impact. Good idea, Deborah. It would be nice to have all the facts and all the information so we could make a decision. But how do we do that when we live in a world that if you try to bring up other ideas, all people do is castrate you, you know? And how do you do that in a culture that has a media that isn't experienced enough to go and look for two sides of the story and just throws out whatever came over the wire services, blah, 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 blah. I mean, it's not going to happen that way. So we as a culture have to get re-involved and start making our wishes known. And then, you know, listening, of course. But that means everybody has to listen. And you can't just throw out rude comments about people and say, you're not, yeah, yeah. You can't do that because then you shut down conversation. We have to be respectful of each other. Yes, let's work to change this. We may not agree, but we are both respectful. Love you too. I have lots of, you have good friends like Deborah and my wife, but other people. I bet you about, I'd say 30, I'm going to be a little, try to be accurate and not go, I would want to say 40%, but I bet 30% of my audience, of you people out there, start off a comment with me somewhere in an email or somewhere with, I don't always agree with you, but, and for me, that's a compliment. My wife doesn't agree with me all the time. I don't want people to, we don't have to agree to have conversation. But if people like Deborah and me can have a conversation in different places, and Logan and other people who may not see it the same way, if we can have a civil conversation, we could beat this stuff. I think we can. There's a bigger picture. There are folks that are struggling with survival, depression, alcoholism, all of that. Yeah, I have a friend who relapsed because of this. Ended back up in the Betty Ford Center. And so when someone comes on and tells me that I'm being selfish, and I watch my friend who was clean for 3 years fall, and what that did to him. And that is just as important. And yeah, he's still here, but most might not have been. So, there's some things I would say, but I would never say them publicly because you would cut my male organs right off. It's total hypocrisy. Two women. Yeah, and I think it's also that people have, I see so many people wearing masks. I mean, I can't even tell you the last time I didn't see somebody in Oregon wearing a mask, but I think we also might have different ideas of what's proper wearing. Mine's always over my nose. I'm like this, but I don't wear it from my office to my car. I'm not around people. I stay within 6 feet away from people. And so I don't wear it there. And the other day, I don't know if the rules say you're supposed to wear it outside all the time. I'm not gonna, because if I'm not around people, I don't think it's healthy for me either. So if I'm not around people, I'm not going to put the thing on because I'm not supposed to be inhaling my own carbon monoxide. So I'm not going to do that. But to keep other people feeling fine, and then if I'm walking in a room or walking in a coffee shop or walking out of my office door to the sidewalk where I'm outside, walking into the restaurant until I get my food, take it off, I'm living by the rules. But I'm also not going to do it when I think it's absolutely the most stupidest thing I've ever thought, was to walk to my car. Bullshit. Too many shoot from the hip. It's true. That's why I love you, Rick, because you do what you do because you care. And another similarity, I always look for the similarities. You hate to see people hurting. I hate to see people hurting. And when families, I've had people write me and say, yeah, my grandma died or something, and that breaks my heart. But see, and the other thing is, I think for me, and one of the things that's a gift and might be a problem for you, some of you, I had cancer. I survived cancer. So I'm not afraid. And will it come back? There's a chance. And I'll have to deal with that. But I'm not afraid of the current situation. I'm just not. Dana Darlin, how can we help those small businesses? How do I need to contact to get my gym open or restaurants dining indoors? We need workouts and good food, not fast food. Is there a petition? No, but there is a defiance movement going on. And I can't say more about it, but I will have something about it soon in the gym community. I think what restaurants need is to be able to have people sit back inside. There's not enough people taking out. You're not going to take out enough food to keep these businesses open. That's just horseshit. And that Governor Brown even thinks that is crazy. I don't think she thinks that. I don't know why. This is just half-ass. They can't exist on that. They can't. And here's the thing that bothers me about the hypocrisy. Dana, you bring this up, and so I'm gonna kind of tag off of it. This is the hypocrisy that I see. When you look at the statistics, more than 90%, and I don't know the number, but more than 90% of the people who are dying of underlying conditions, health problems, that kind of thing. So we have a culture that's not healthy, and then we close down gyms. And what we've done is we've driven people, and I'm not a fast food kind of guy, but I see 20 people lined up at the McDonald's and the places like that waiting for food because it's really the only convenient thing they can do, and it's cheap. So they're lined up at those places eating less than healthy food. They can't go to their gym and work out. I find ways to do it because that's my lifestyle, but most people aren't going to do that. And so we're creating more problems with our solutions that makes us more susceptible to getting COVID. That's just fucking stupid. I'm sorry. That's just stupid. I don't get that at all. I posted you detective on Facebook. That's my story. Okay. All right. I got to go because I got to go shoot a video. There's, and then there are children when a 6-year-old asks, what does it feel like to die? Yeah, we've created a mess. So we need to stop counting normal deaths for COVID deaths. And I think what we need to also do is really get honest about, how many people are getting sick but surviving. And it's a huge number. And how many people are getting sick and not having any symptoms? We don't talk much about that. So we're not getting a really accurate picture of what's going on out there in my mind. And that's what I'm looking for. So the way you get a more accurate picture is to bring more people on and talk about more things and more ideas. And that's how you get a better picture. So that's what we're going to do tomorrow night, 4:30, Get Real with Rick Dancer. I don't know how many comments I'm going to take because I really want to give this doctor time to chat. And but I will try to take some of your comments, but it'll be worth tuning in. And hopefully the gods at Facebook will let me keep it up. We'll see what happens. All right. Thank you for your patience. Susan, I hope I wasn't too big of an asshole. I just, it's important to me too. And I don't like people putting words in my mouth. And so if I overshot on that, I ask you to forgive me. And I do thank you for what you do. I know you're on the front line, so you're seeing way worse than what I'm seeing. But we also have to have balance. We need balance in this whole reaction to COVID situation. And right now we don't have balance, and that's what we need to push for. in my opinion. All right. Thank you, Bucks. And Bucks will be sponsoring our show tomorrow night. Bucks stops here. And when you got to poo, you know where to do it. I'm sure he's going to love that. When you know where to poo, go to Ricky Doo.